To all of our listeners and viewers to this program, it's another wonderful Thursday evening here on the island of Nevis. A little rainy, but it's all good. It is also the evening when we bring to you a very informative program, which we have dubbed Government at Work. It's a program brought to you by the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration and hosted by yours truly. We look forward each week to bring to you the information as it pertains to the development of the island and people of Nevis, whether it be through the Ministry of Tourism, Education, Culture, Agriculture, to name a few. There are positive signs of growth taking place in all areas of our economy, and each week we make the effort to highlight at least one of those areas to ensure that you're kept abreast of all of the developments taking place here on the island of Nevis. This program, I remind you, is broadcast live on VON Radio every Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Then rebroadcast on Nevis Television on Sunday evening from 8:30 p.m. As always, I remind you as well that our popular Bird's Eye View program is aired every Tuesday evening on Nevis Television at 7:15 p.m. Then rebroadcast on Wednesday evenings at the same time. We shall take a short break, and when we return, I shall introduce my guest for this evening's program to you. So stay locked on to the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio 860 AM.
So rise, St. Thomas is rise, St. James is put together and build your land. Rise, St. George's and St. Paul's together with St. John's. This land is enough for all to share. No reason to leave and go nowhere. Foreigners can come here from America and England. There is something mighty sweet about my land. And if the foreigners who live here can insist that it's here they're from, then I swear I'll never leave my native land. One people, one.
Welcome back. Folks, I am pleased to have as my guest this evening three heavyweights from the NEVLEC, namely Mr. Ian Ward, Chief Engineer at NEVLEC, Mr. Bobby Taylor, Generation Manager, Bobby Springett, I beg your pardon, and Mr. Bobby Earl Springett, I know him from small as Bobby, you know, so Mr. Al Stapleton, Transmission and Distribution Manager. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to our Government at Work program.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr.
Right, right.
So also good evening to the viewing and listening public.
Right. Now, guys, before we get into our main discussion this evening, I understand that there was a Carrilet Line Workers Rodeo competition held in Antigua sometime last month, and the NEVLEC team that represented Nevis placed first. Al, you seems to have been the leader of that winning team, so why don't you share that experience with our listening and viewing audience to start us off?
First of all, King, I want to thank you for having us here. I guess this is an auspicious occasion. It's not every Thursday evening we get to sit in the King's presence. So I want to thank you for having us here.
You're welcome, my friend.
Yes. Last month, the NEVLEC team journeyed to Antigua to take place in this Carrilex Linesman Symposium and Rodeo. So it was not just the rodeo.
Okay.
So they had a symposium, we had some training, we had a very good time, and we had a crew that went up. It was an experienced team, and also we had two apprentices. So to correct you, the experienced team came third, and the apprentice, Mr. Kishan Hobson, he came first, and another apprentice came 12th.
Oh, okay. Now, what was involved in this competition? What exactly the team did to make, or he did to make him the champion?
So there was a number of events, and these events are basically what the guys do on a day-to-day basis. So there were a number of events. There were a hurt-man rescue. A hurt-man rescue depicts basically like a scenario where a linesman is hurt, and the lineman have to go up and rescue that injured lineman.
Okay.
There was also a fuse change out. There was also a speed climb. There was a basketball event that got rained out, and there was also a earthing event. So the experienced team did the 3-phase earthing event, and the apprentice did just a single phase earthing event.
Okay, sounds good, sounds good. Now let me ask you this. Is it an annual competition or this was just a one-off?
No, this actually was the sixth event that NEVLEC hosted. So it's an annual event. They started 5 years ago. This year was the sixth. But this year was actually the first time that NEVLEC entered a team.
Oh, okay, okay.
So this was a very big deal for us.
Yes.
It was close proximity, so we were able to take a full team.
Full team.
We chartered a boat. We partnered with Scarborough, and we were able to take a full team. And we have some very dedicated workers. So having dedicated workers, those who were not a part of the team, they came along for the experience.
Okay, great. Now, I want to start our discussion this evening by asking you to give us an update. Well, not you, Al. This is probably more Bobby, and forgive me for calling you Bobby, because that's what
Yeah, that's okay. I would call you the king of...
Yeah, okay. I want to start this evening's discussion by asking you to give us an update on the status of the engines at the power plant in Prospect, both the old ones and the new ones, of course.
Well, first I want to say good evening to you and your listeners, and thanks for inviting us to the studios of One Radio. Well, we trust that our discussion tonight will enlighten your listeners, both at home and abroad in the diaspora. And power generation is, it's filled with a lot of dynamics, so it is our hope to be informative as possible. In relation to your question, the older generators, we are doing some upgrades at this moment on the cooling system for G6 and G7. It is expected that both generators will deliver about 4 megawatts combined when the upgrade is completed.
Okay.
These two gensets are still available, still operating online, but we are working methodically to have those areas sorted out. And generator number 5 is also being worked on. It is being transformed from a non-standard rotation to a standard rotation generator. This is based on some issues we had with the alternator of our older unit. So now we are combining that G5 generator engine block with an alternator from another generator. So that is also in progress. G10 also, that's another older unit. We are at the moment changing out the generator bearing. So that would be completed by the weekend. So we should be in good shape after these maintenance are completed. Yeah. But in reference to the Wärtsilä units, all are operational. The G11, the one that we got in 2017, it is just for its second major overhaul in September. So all that is taking place at the moment.
Okay.
So we're in good shape at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, what is our total output capacity as we speak?
At the moment, we have an available capacity of about 15 megawatts.
50 megawatts.
Yeah.
Now, with the purchase of these new engines over the past few years, your maintenance program should be much easier to execute. So tell us a little about it. You mentioned a little about it earlier. Tell us a little about your maintenance program. Well,
in terms of maintenance, I wouldn't say it's much easier because we don't want to drop the guard when it comes to that. So we still perform our maintenance during the low demand time. Example, let's say on a Sunday, we carry out our maintenance, especially on the 3.8 megawatts unit, because we don't want to do it, especially these times when the weather is extremely hot and everybody's on AC and the demand is quite high. We don't really want to take out a 3.8 megawatts during the week And then if you have another issue on another unit, you know, it might lead to load shedding. So we still perform major maintenance on Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is the maintenance done internally, or persons are brought in to deal with the repairs to those engines?
Well, it's based on the maintenance that is done. We do 90% of the maintenance, and in terms of major maintenance, let's say on the Watsillers, the Watsillers engineers are brought in to do those maintenance. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how often do you service the engines, and who is responsible for ensuring that it is done on a timely basis?
Well, the engines are maintained by according to the hours. We have like 250 hours, 500 hours, and that goes all the way up to 24,000 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, so that information is generated using, let's say, an Excel spreadsheet. On that spreadsheet, in the different columns, you have each generating set, and then you have the life hours of the generating set. Then you have hours since the last maintenance, and then you have the service hours, which is the amount of hours that the unit run during the 24 hours, and then you have the date for the expected maintenance.
Okay.
So what happens there is that let's say generator 11 is due for maintenance 1,000, let's say on Saturday. The information during the 24 hours is collected by the senior operator, and that is entered into the spreadsheet, and that information would be updated. So like if generator 11 already do 900 hours before, and it did 15 hours today, that 15 hours will be added to the 900 hours, and that would be telling you that it's coming closer to the 1,000 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, so that information is updated every day, and then maybe every Monday we look at the spreadsheet. I get the supervisors together, and we look at the dates when each maintenance is supposed to be done. So I will speak to the electrical supervisor, the mechanical supervisor, and then we'll say, okay, our maintenance is expected on G11 on Thursday, and we put all our plans in place, you know, for that maintenance. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds like you're on top of things.
Yeah.
Now, the last time I spoke to the GM, which was over a year ago, you guys were in the middle of upgrading the power lines across the island, as well as planting new poles. And I think this question is for you, as give us an idea as to where we are with regards to those two initiatives. Is that still ongoing, or both is now completed?
First of all, I want to thank you for your observation regarding the old poles. While it may be concerning, there are several factors contributing to this situation. There are three factors I would like to list. One, we have a pole sharing agreement. We have a pole sharing agreement with the other utilities. And this pole sharing agreement for the pole transfer has been going very slow than we actually wanted to do. To expedite this, I have recently reached out to the different utilities and informing them of a clause that we may have to invoke for their compliance. Two, there has been supply chain issues. So supply chain issues have been affecting us and also them. The current global supply chain market had made it difficult for us as well as them to procure equipment. So I understand the challenges. However, this challenge has impacted us in a great deal. So I've given them enough lead time, and I've also now referred back to the same pole sharing agreement. So they have a month now to move off of the poles. And the last one will be equipment challenges. So you asked about the upgrades. We started upgrading the cotton ground feeder. Would have done upgrades between Jessops all the way to cotton ground. And we wanted to do between Pinners and the Malcolm Gishard Park area. Supply chain issues, we had some problems there, and also the equipment issues. Now we had faced with the digger derrick. So that's a high water table area, and even though we use contractors, we use backhoes and stuff, we want to use the digger derrick in those areas. So we now have a timeline to finish upgrading that area before Culturama and between Malcolm Gishard Park and Four Seasons, well, let's say around Four Seasons area. You may notice we have poles on both sides. Four Seasons has also procured their material to put their infrastructure underground. They have also assured me that this will take place before Culturama, so you should see some movement very shortly.
You are also in the process of changing all of your street bulbs across the island as well. Has that been completed, or you're still in the middle of doing that?
No, we have actually completed it. The LED replacement campaign has been completed successfully.
Okay, great.
However, we have encountered some issues with the new lamps. These new street lamps, a significant number of street lamps have been failing. Okay. The last time I checked, the percentage would have been at least 15 to 20. Now, 15 to 20 of roughly about maybe 3,500 street lamps.
That's quite a bit.
That's quite a bit.
Yes.
So this has been now an Achilles heel for my department, because the service order numbers have been increasing, they've been astronomical, and it's added resources to go out and change the street lamps. So for those listening, I'm asking you to be patient with us. We are aware of the situation and we are trying to address the situation.
Okay. Now, it was said that the new bulbs would have been able to reduce the generation cost to NEVLEC as well as to the consumers. Now that you have had some time to assess the situation, are you seeing any evidence of that as yet in terms of reduction in the cost of doing business?
Well, we don't meter the street lamps, and even the old one, we never metered them. So it's based on a formula. So what we do know is that the new street lamps, they are LEDs, they are not high pressure sodiums. The old street lamps was 150 watts. The new street lamps are 60 watts. And so we'll do the calculation. So that's definitely a reduce in the demand.
Okay.
Just to add, it's also fair to say that we've increased the number of streetlights.
Okay.
When we started the program, I think we were around 3,200 HPS lights. We're now around close to 4,000 LED lights.
That sounds good. Any plans to do more? That's it?
No, that would be it. It was a program initiated through a CDB program for the Federation. So we have been allocated our amount of lights. As Al said, we have had a high failure rate. We are in discussions with the project coordinator, which we hope will get back to the manufacturer, and we're hoping then, to be able to at least recover some of those fixtures.
Okay. Now, the question of 110 current into private homes from the outside poles is still very much a talking point, and is in great demand. Now that our electricity is more reliable and a couple of new engines has been installed, does that make it more likely that this initiative could become a reality sooner rather than later?
You want to answer that?
I could take the first now if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
King, I want to thank you for acknowledging, first of all, the improvements of the reliability of the electricity. But the reliability does not solely lie on generation. And there is also a transmission and distribution aspect.
Yes, that's where you're coming.
Correct. So regarding the demand for 110 supply to private homes, first of all, traditionally we offer 230. In recent years we would have offered 230, 115. I'm not sure, Ian could probably help me, but 110 is not a desired specific voltage anywhere around the world. We have offered 110 because we have recognized most of our customers, the appliances come from the United States. So providing 110s also helps to reduce the customers' loads. It could increase energy efficiency. However, in offering the 110, it's based on availability of the capacity of the transformer. So a lot of folks, will say, my neighbor has it and I can't get it. But it's based off of the availability of the capacity of the transformer. At the same time, you mentioned our reliability, and we want to maintain that reliability. So we just want our customers to understand that.
Yeah, they're listening, they're hearing you loud and clear. But let me ask you this.
Ian could take a second now, and then
feel free to jump in at any time.
Yeah. Okay, so the major issue we're having now, as Al outlined, we are attempting to give the customers what they want. Now, the 110 service, some people say, when we say 110, they take it as a 3-wire system. It's not the case. When we give a person 110 from an existing system, they're being fed from half of the cores of the transformer. It's not the full core, it's half. So it's what you call 0-110. And what we have found that's really hurting us right now, there's been a sharp increase in the amount of 110 volt or 115 volt AC units, which is having a serious impact on our channel. That's why we've had to pull back on that initiative. But we have started an IUS program, an Integrated Utility Services program, which was started at the Alexander Hospital. We changed out all of the incandescent and fluorescent lights, and we also replaced all of the old AC units with inverter type units. And we saw a decrease in their consumption of some 30%. We have received some more money. It's on its way. What we're trying to do now is to complete the hospital. There are a few more AC units that we need to replace, and we also want to add a PV solar panel to feed the hospital, and then we'll see even greater reduction in the consumption. So that initiative went a step further. We had other discussions with, I don't really want to name the company, but we spoke about the transformers on the island, which is an energy efficiency issue, because if you can save power, you're saving, And so one of the things that we discussed was the possibility of offering, through the same IUS program, offering solar and energy efficiency packages. And so what that will entail is that we will actually speak to our customers, those who are willing to come on to the 3-wire system. NEVLEC will do all the work to bring them up to that 3-wire standard. And then there will be like a payment payment program. We're looking at discussions right now, but we're looking at payback period of between 3 and 5 years. So it's not to kill the customer, but it's to bring them in line with what everyone's asking for, which is a 3-wire system. And also for some customers to offer solar panels, right? Again, with a payment plan that would cover, between 3 and 5 years. So we're hoping if that is successful, that's something that we'd roll out, let's say, hopefully in the first quarter of next year. And that will be done parish by parish. So we'll inform the customers that we're coming around. You might see Al, you might see somebody else. But that would be to engage them and see if they're willing to take the 3-wire system. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of pushback. People think that everybody wants 110, but people they're pushing back, right? Because of the cost, because I think, between $3,000 and $4,000 is often quoted to do the work. To
wire up the house to that?
No, just to get the wires them out to the column. So you probably have to upgrade your pipe. Some people have used older systems that use smaller pipes. Our standard now is a 2-inch pipe. You may have to change your panel board if you have the old, the MEM. You may have to change that to a GE panel board to facilitate a 3-wire system. And then bring the pipe, because we would want you to know standardize by bringing your meter out to your column, and then extending the pipe and getting fed.
So who bears that cost? That $3,000 to $4,000 to get that three-phase wire. Who bears that cost?
Three wire. NEVLEC would bear the initial cost, the upfront cost.
Yes.
So the plan is that we would bear that cost, and then the customer will pay back over a 3 to 5 year period. I think the GM was leaning more towards 5 years, but it may be something that the board will have to get involved with and say, okay, 5 years. But that'll probably be the cap.
Okay. What are the benefits of this, the three wire?
Well, you're getting what you want. You're getting your 220.
Or you get various levels of...
Yeah, so within the house.
And also you don't have to worry about your transformer load.
Yeah.
NEVLEC will then be absorbing the transformer load.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sounds good, sounds very good. Now, as the island of Nevis continues to develop rapidly, so does the demand for more electricity. So let me ask you this question. Are there any plans to order another Wärtsilä engine, or what we have is enough to suffice at least until geothermal becomes a reality?
Do you want to touch that?
I would think that question might be above my pay grade.
Well, I know.
Okay, but
let me rephrase the question. Do you think there's a need for another Wärtsilä prior to geothermal, if and when it becomes a reality?
Well, I'm not sure of the timeline of geothermal.
Neither me. That's why I say if and when.
But one of the things that drove the idea to get the newer units was that the older units, the parts and all that were very difficult to get. And turnaround time was like, some of the parts was like 8 weeks and 24 weeks and all of that. So it will be good to be having that type of plan, but I think that the trust right now is towards green energy, solar and all of that. So it might be probably a good thing to go with that mix of diesel and solar energy, But I'm not sure of any immediate plans right now to purchase another Wärtsilä.
Fair enough.
What I can add to that is that based on the federal policy, which is going towards the Paris Agreement, we would not want to, that's not part of our plans.
Okay.
Our plans would be to go more with solar, maybe to increase our wind potential. So what we want to do with them is to provide, as Bobby said, provide green energy and move away from fossil fuels.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough. Now, talking about green energy leads me now into the question of geothermal. If we are successful with the development of geothermal energy, what would become of those engines that is currently carrying the load at the power plant?
Initially,
nothing. Well, no.
No, I mean, remember, geothermal will be a new concept.
Yes.
Right? So we would want to manage it responsibly. So the plant would remain, but it would be used more in a backup capacity rather than the primary source of power.
Okay.
But then, as time goes on, we develop more geothermal, or we develop more wind potential or more solar potential, then gradually we'll phase out those generators.
Okay.
I don't know if you want anything to that, Bobby.
Well, you're exactly right in terms of that. But as you said, initially there might be, both plants would be operating maybe in parallel until all the commissioning aspects are ironed out. And then after that, once everyone is comfortable, then the diesel plant would be phased out.
Okay. Now I want to focus your attention now on the geothermal plant, which with federal backing finally looks like it will become a reality here in Nevis. Ian, you recently traveled as part of the federal delegation regarding further discussions on the development of geothermal resource. Could you share that experience with our listeners and viewers as to your role in that trip and your takeaway from that trip as well?
Well, first of all, it was hard work. I thought I was getting a break, but I think I arrived on a Sunday evening, and they put me to work almost immediately, Monday morning. So I worked right up until that I left. I had to do a presentation on the 5th of December, go back to the hotel, pack my bags, and I was on my way back to the Federation. It was interesting. There was over 200 countries there represented. I think a lot of them are disappointed, especially small and developing states, because we believe that the first world countries are responsible for what's going on with the temperatures.
Yes.
And I think a lot of them assume that when we go to these big forums and so forth, that money would be given to us to support our various technologies and programs to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels. I think a lot of them were disappointed, to be honest. For my part, I was there to discuss the geothermal and the various phases of the program, the drilling campaign. Obviously, some don't know, but we're looking also as part of that program to go underground with our transmission lines, distribution lines, and so forth. So that was also discussed, along with how we're going to go underground and how we're going to provide corridors. So it's just not for us to dig our trenches, but we have to look at the other utilities.
Yes.
How would it be? And also water department would also be part of that corridor. And so we're having discussions about how we're going to do that, what routes and so forth we're going to take. So my role really was to do a presentation on that aspect of it, and also to answer questions. Persons would come into the room and ask questions, about the geothermal and so forth, and we only can provide them with what we know. We've done our drilling, our testing and so forth, so we know that the resource is there. But you don't know its true potential until you start to drill down and see what's coming up.
True.
Right? So even though we're seeing very, very high temperatures, at even 1 kilometer, for example, we're seeing 260 degrees Celsius. Experts have told us if we go down another 500 or 0.5 kilometer, we would probably get to 290 degrees Celsius. So there's a lot of heat.
Yes, yes.
We know we have the seawater. Like, it actually comes up to the mountain, I think at about 10 kilometers, and it goes back out roughly at 1 kilometer. So we have any amount of water, right, which we're going to need, to produce the steam and push the turbine. So my role is really to explain some of those things. It was good, but next time I want to go on a vacation. Not to it was too hard. It was a lot of work. Trust me, I didn't really expect the amount of work.
Yes. Okay. Now, speaking of discussion, it was my understanding that top members from CDB would have visited Nevis at some point. Could you give us an idea as to the purpose of the visit? Speak to what exactly was...
Okay, so that visit was last Thursday and Friday.
I think it was the 16th.
And the 17th.
Yes.
So it was 2 days of negotiations, and it was long negotiations. So basically, we want to put out an RFP for contractors to bid on the project.
Wait on the RFP. Remember, people listening.
Well, it's just making a request.
Yeah, I was going to ask him the same question.
So you're just making a request, right? So we put it out with what we want done and so forth. Unfortunately, there was some gaps between what we want to do and what the bank wants to put in place. So they came. I mean, I got to give them kudos. I mean, they really want to see the project come off. And so it wasn't just a matter of, we're not accepting this. It was, let's sit down, let's discuss, let's negotiate, and let's come to a consensus regarding, what has to be done. Because remember, banks have what we call a procurement process, right? And so we have to, abide by those processes. I think, by and large, it was successful. We have a few things to do. I think Mr. Garden is still working hard at that, along with Natalie, to put those things in place before CDB can, give us the no objection, and then we can then proceed to send out, the bidding documents to all these contractors. So we are confident that, we have a meeting with them tomorrow. So I guess we'll be able to explain to them what we've done and what else we need to do. So we're hopeful that sometime next week, I think all the gaps, we'd have closed all those gaps, and we can proceed with the
bidding process.
Yeah.
How long will that bidding process be?
The bidding process, normally when it goes out, we give contractors, I think it's somewhere in the region of 35 days.
35 days.
Yeah. It may be reduced because of the fact it went out before. So some have an idea of what to expect, but I think we're not going to move that. So when it gets back to us now, there'll be a committee formed to assess each application, which will take possibly another month to 6 weeks. And then the successful applicant would be awarded the contract.
Yes.
So we are looking right now, we're still on target for the first quarter of 2025 to proceed with the drilling.
Okay, that was my next question. Now, once the drilling of the wells have been done and has been found to be productive, the next step I would assume will be to build the plant. Where would that plant be built?
It'd be on the, I'm going to say the entry site, the land behind Carino.
Oh.
Yeah, so that is where we're going to start the drilling campaign from. Right, we'll start a drilling campaign from there. So that's where the plant. We haven't settled on the location, whether it will be more to the northern end or more to the western end. So we are having discussions right now regarding design. We have a couple of designs before us. We'll have consultation with our consultants and finalize that location in due course. We don't want to wait too long to start that program because the plant usually takes between 18 months and 2 years to build. And so once we have dug the first couple of holes and we see what the resource is like, and we can explain that to potential bidders for the plant, once I have that information, then we will proceed again to do an RFP. As we are drilling, with the, so we can, bring drilling campaign to an end and the beginning of the plant close together, rather than doing drilling and then waiting and then, so we'll be doing that as while we're doing the drilling, we'll actually be working on the plant. And also, hopefully, if we have monies, start on the underground cabling from Hamilton, the same location, over to Prospect and then down to Charlestown.
So is NEVLEC responsible for the drilling part of the wells?
Well, we are going to be the executing agency. So we are the ones, we'll be managing it. Okay. We're not doing it. We have experts out there, but we have a PMU unit, project management unit. And so we'll be guided by consultants who are experienced in drilling, but they'll have to report back to our PMU.
Okay. What about the construction of the plant? Do you play any role in that? When you say you mean NEVLEC, do you?
No.
Oh, that's the geothermal developers.
That will be the
Okay. We are aware that the electrical wires will have to be run from the geothermal plant when it is constructed, all the way up to Prospect Power Plant.
Yeah.
Will that be done by NEVLEC or the geothermal developers?
That will be NEVLEC responsibility.
NEVLEC responsibility.
Whether it's physically NEVLEC or whether we bring in contractors for that.
Okay. Who will be responsible for the day-to-day operations at the geothermal plant when it is completed? Are we talking way in the future? Will it be NEVLEC or the geothermal developers?
No, the expectation is it will be NEVLEC. So, there may be a period of 2 to 5 years of training, and then you'll transition over to NEVLEC, being fully responsible for the plant.
Okay. What about staffing? I'm sure there will be a need for additional staffing eventually. Who will be responsible for that? NEVLEC or the geothermal developers?
Not NEVLEC. We expect to utilize existing staff.
Yes.
At Prospect. We'll have a skeleton staff at Prospect still, and then we'll engage young persons. We're hoping that as the technology comes along, that persons will start to look at doing specialized training, and that's what we're hoping that that education department would extend that training or make it available to our young people.
Yes.
Because it's going to be their product.
Yes.
You know, I'm an old man,
Not yet.
a little younger than you. So we expect that the young people now will take up the challenge to push the geothermal.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now, I would have heard that the long-term plan is to be able to generate enough geothermal power so that Nevis will be able to service not only St. Kitts but other neighboring islands as well.
Yeah.
That will have to be done with underground cables, I am told. Who will be responsible for that leg of the project? The developers or NEVLEC?
Well, it's going to be a federal project. It's going to be a federal resource. It's submarine cables you have to use to link the islands and so forth. I'm not sure how it will be done. It may be they may have a special committee formed, you know, with members of government, SCELEC, NEVLEC, and so forth, and they may be the ones that will, you know, put out bids, you know, invite bids to do this work. Obviously, we don't have the resources to do submarine cables, but there's many companies out there that can perform the task. So it would be just a matter of, you know, having those discussions. Obviously, whatever we export, that cable cost would also be part of what the tariff will be. So if it's costing us X amount of money, it may be that we add another 2 cents or 3 cents on the tariff when we're exporting to these islands. That's, you know, I think right now the government is pushing for that, especially to our neighboring islands and, you know, going up towards Anguilla. I know when we were in Dubai, for example, we were talking about the geothermal, and a young man from Anguilla said, "What about us? We're part of you." You know, so we had to apologize and say, "Yes, you are." And so I think that there will be a link, whether it's direct to Anguilla in the first instance or St. Martin and then on to Anguilla. But, you know, we are looking to run those cables to feed all the islands leading up to Anguilla and to St. Martin.
Sound good. Folks, you're listening to Government at Work. My guest this evening is a heavyweight from NEVLEC, but my good friend Bobby Bobby Springett, Bobby Earl Springett, Al Stapleton, and of course Chief Engineer Ian Ward. We shall take a short break, and when we return, we shall continue with our discussions here on Government at Work. Welcome back. Mr. Ward, and I say Mr. Ward because I'm getting into a little more the serious end of this discussions now. I want to focus your attention now on the power sharing agreement. It is my understanding that it will be between NEVLEC and the geothermal developers. First, is that true? And if so, could you enlighten us to that proposed agreement?
We're probably a little premature on that. The PPA hasn't been up for discussions. What we have spoken of at this moment in time is more of a BOT, which is, you know, buy, operate and transfer program. If it's going to elevate to a PPA, I have not heard that at this moment in time. We are still discussing the possibility of ownership as early as possible of the full resource.
Yes.
So they would operate it for a while and then transfer it over to NEVLEC. Obviously, it's going to be a matter of the cost.
Yes.
Because obviously, if it's big money, then we can't take it over in 5 years or 10 years, whatever the case may be. So that would also be negotiated, hopefully.
Between the geothermal developers and NEVLEC?
Well, I would say it would be. Remember, we are still 100% owned by the government. and so they would have a large share in those discussions. So I would want to believe that we'll be sitting at the table, but maybe towards the end of the table.
We'll be there.
I think we'll be
the
there.
power that way.
Yeah.
Understood. Now, the federal government has shown their support fully behind this effort of developing geothermal here in Nevis. So much so that there are those who are out there spreading their usual propaganda that the federal government now owns the geothermal project here in Nevis. So let me ask you this: does the federal government has any say in the power purchase agreement?
As far as I know, whatever is discussed will be discussed amongst the NEVLEC, SCELEC, and also the federal government as well as the local government. I don't think that decision will be made by one person or one entity. I think that it would be discussions as to how best it would benefit the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. It's a St. Kitts and Nevis resource.
Yes.
It belongs to Nevis, but we're part of the federation.
Understood.
And you know, we like to share things in Nevis. So, but to say that they are fully owners, I would say no.
Okay, fair enough. Now, when I spoke to the general manager, like I said, more than a year ago, he outlined a number of other benefits that could be had as a result of the development of the production of geothermal energy here on the island of Nevis. Could you speak to some of those added benefits for our listeners and viewers?
Well, I didn't quite hear what you said.
Yeah, we will.
But there are derivatives of geothermal, and one of the things that we're looking to do as quickly as possible is to do a power-to-X plant, and that would be located opposite the Mondo track, the land below the Mondo track. And what the power-to-X will do is that we'll be able to produce hydrogen, and from hydrogen we'll be able to look at ammonia, fertilizer, and other things. So geothermal will provide cheaper electricity. The power-to-X will provide plenty revenue, because obviously how things are going right now, people want fertilizer. We can provide that. If you want to do an ammonia plant, we can do that. So from the derivatives, we'll be able to market something different from the geothermal, and it's all green. When I say it's all green, there are many countries now who are saying that by 2030, for example, everything that they purchase has to be 100% green. Right? They don't want a fossil fuel mix. No. And so that is what we'll be able to provide. When a person wants hydrogen, when they want fertilizer, when they want whatever they want, it will be 100% green energy, no fossil fuel. So that's what we're looking to do, hopefully before 2030.
Before 2030?
Yeah.
Well, it's reasonable. To achieve those added benefits that you just outlined, what are some of the things that we will have to ensure are in place before these added initiatives could take place, especially as they relate to production and labor?
Yeah. Well, you may have heard that the initial project will be a 30 megawatt project. 10 megawatts for Nevis, 20 megawatts for St. Kitts, but we're looking at a 50 megawatts. To achieve those goals, we'll have to extend our lines from Prospect. The route that we're looking to take is to come through the yard of Lefko and then come down to Long Point. So we want to do 2 more wells in the Prospect area and 2 more wells in the Long Point Road area. Once that is achieved, the 5 wells in Hamilton, so 3 production wells and 2 reinjection wells. The 2 reinjection wells will be converted to production wells, and what we're hoping will happen at that point is that we'll be able to produce 50 megawatts. If it's more, it's more. And so we'll have to get prepared for the power-to-X. We'll have to do the trenching, do the work, and make sure that the wells are drilled. And so we don't want the drilling contractor to come here, drill, go, demobilize, remobilize. So we want that to be done in the same time, even though it might not be used at the same time. We want to be able to say, well, all the wells are dug now. We know exactly what what temperatures we're getting at each and every location. And this is good information for the geothermal experts out there who are really saying that we have a massive resource. So that's what we'll be looking forward to do in the coming years.
You mentioned earlier that you think by 2030 we could have, if all goes well, geothermal.
No, I'm hoping that by 2027 we'll have geothermal.
Oh, I think you mentioned 2030.
Yeah, but 2030 is when we'd want to transition away from fossil fuels altogether.
Okay.
That's the plan.
That is okay. That good. Now, in terms of, if all goes according to plan, in terms of geothermal producing the amount of energy that we believe is available here in Nevis, what could be some of the benefits, not only to NEVLEC, but to the government and people of Nevis on a whole, once all becomes a reality?
Well, with geothermal, we're hoping to get our tariff, which is a contentious issue right now, down into single digits, right? With low electricity, we're expecting business to boom. We're expecting other businesses to come on island. There are some businesses that are focused on running their business on green energy, which we'll be able to provide. We've heard mention of Bitcoin and those kind of companies. So what we're hoping is that there will be a boom in employment. And I guess, I remember some years ago when people were coming from all different islands to Nevis. And we can foresee that again happening. We'll be in a position to support a spike in our population, once this becomes a thing. Because, as I said, we're looking at single digits for the tariff. So when I say single digits, maybe, 8 or 9 cents US, rather than what we're paying right now. So.
Sounds good. I hope I live to see it becomes a reality. It sounds good. No. Sinkis is also trying to develop their own wind energy and solar energy. If they are successful with that, what effect do you see that having on our efforts to sell our geothermal energy to them and perhaps further afield?
Okay, so there'll be no effect, no impact. The Prime Minister and I think the Premier has agreed that what we want to do is to create one grid. And so whatever is added to the grid will feed both islands.
Okay.
What's coming back into the grid that we don't need can go over to Power to X.
Okay.
And so there's no waste. And, if at that time we're able to run a line to our neighbors there in Montserrat or to Antigua with that excess, then that's what we'll do. So there's no waste. Whatever is made available to us, we'll utilize.
Okay. Sounds great. I want to speak to you now about the succession plan at NEVLEC. And Bobby, you and Al could feel free to jump in on this at any time. Especially in light of the fact that in a couple of years' time, the responsibilities could be even greater than they are at present. Is there any one of you here who will relish that opportunity to carry on, if asked to do so? Do you feel that you're sufficiently equipped to take on such a responsibility, or do you think that some further training will be required on your part? And like I say, any one of the three could answer that question.
I don't do enough talking, so.
Bobby, take on that, Bobby. You spoke about succession planning. Certainly, succession planning is a crucial aspect of ensuring the continuity and success of any organization. For any organization to boom and to success, you need succession planning. They also need training and development of the staff. And if the owners of NEVLEC are serious, they will ensure that the staff is well equipped to carry on such role. Regarding your inquiry about whether anyone who feels equipped, oftentimes, well, there's a Chinese proverb that said that a midget standing on a giant's shoulder could see much further than the giant. Yes. So you might be the giant and you don't know what's on top of you. You can't see as far as the midget can see.
Yes, that's true.
So you ask if any one of us feel prepared. And your level, you might feel prepared, but when you go up into that level, you might not be prepared. So that's where the training and the development comes into play. So, you know, your question. For me personally, I'm just trying to prepare myself for what comes.
Right. Bobby, what about you?
Yeah, well, you know, I would also relish that opportunity, to be honest, because we have seen different managers that, you know, from outside come and they bring to the table different stuff, some more technical, some more administrative, you know, so we have a mix. But I think with our background, maybe not all, because all is shine away, but you know, with me and Mr. Ward, you know, background that we have, you know, we would be in a, you know, a position to take on the challenges of, you know, managing the company.
Okay.
I get my chance now?
I was going to ask you this question. Who do you think is better suited to be the general manager? The generation person, the distribution and production person, or the engineer, the chief engineer? Who do you think is more suited?
Well,
I know it's a lot of different roles.
Yeah, I'm going to take I'll stance in a way, because I think that we need to build our capacity within.
Yes.
I think one of the issues we've had over the years is that we haven't been exposed to the kind of training that we should have received. We're getting some now, and we need more engineers, because at the end of the day, your staff has to buy into what you want to do. True. People say, oh, this is a good engineer, it's a good manager, but it's not. Your staff believes in you, right? So when I pass something, it trickles down to Al. He has supervisors that have to believe in him, and they have to have staff that believe in the supervisors. And so once we get them to buy in, so we give them the training, we hope we can compensate them, and then they're going to start to ball that, you know. But once we get the buy-in, anybody can run a utility, because your support staff is so strong. You understand? And so what we have seen, I mean, Bobby is correct. I mean, we have many times we have run NEVLEC from below. You understand? We have run NEVLEC from below, because you can't bring in a man for a year and expect him to know what's going on. He has to rely on that support, on that support staff. And we're the ones that's bringing the support, but he might get all the praise and so forth. You understand? But I believe in Bobby. I believe in Al. You understand? My expectations for them is to always go beyond and above their call of duty. And the same with the staff. I mean, the staff work tirelessly. Sometimes they grumble, but when you go home and you think about it, they have a right to grumble. You understand? Because we have pushed them hard. We have really pushed them hard. And they grumble, but the work gets done. And I think the island has seen the benefit of that. You know, I get cussed now when can't go out for an hour. And there was a time when people used to congratulate me that I had power for 3 days straight. So we have moved from an unreliable system to a more reliable, and we can get better. Trust me, we can get better with technology. If we can implement technology, when we gone clear, we gone to a different level.
I feel that each year you could do it.
Ian said something very critical. You know, it's evolving demands. You know, no, it's not just about managing a power plant. It's not just about, you're talking about managing distributed generation, you're talking geothermal, you're talking about smart grids, AMI, and above that, you have to manage the staff. You have to manage the staff now to bring them onto all of these different technologies. So you have to develop yourself. You ask if it's whether a generation, financial, or technical. You know, if this individual is well-rounded, it'll be better equipped to run the company.
True.
Not only that, you have to look into also EQ, emotional intelligence. How does this manager deal with the staff? So, you know, for me, it's got to be a well-rounded individual. And what Ian says as well, what I find NEVLEC might have suffered from in the past, Ian said you might bring in a man for a year, 2 years. So he has a plan. And then the next manager come in and he has a different plan.
True.
Rather than we having a strategic plan for 5-10 years.
Yes, yes.
So
yes,
whether or
yes.
not that manager leaves, we have a 10-year plan, a 10-year goal that we are trying to achieve. So we just chipping away. So,
you know, over the years, you quite rightly said that the general manager of NEVLEC has always been an outsider. And it is my belief that the powers that be would love to see a Nevision holding down that position. I'm sure you would as well. Listening to you guys, you have that same thinking. So I hope when the circumstances presents itself, where the position becomes available in the future, that 1, 2, or even 3 of you will be putting your hands in the air to carry that load, because I am well aware that you are more than capable of doing it together, because like I'll rightly say, I mean, the thing is now evolving into all kind of different parts, you know. So you need Al to do this, you're going to need Bobby to do that, you're going to need Ian to do that. So it has become, you have the figurehead, of course, because you always have a figurehead, but you need all parts to be working together.
It's always a team effort.
Yes, that's right. I want to focus your attention now on the day-to-day operations of NEVLEC itself. We know that the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration has removed the fuel charge from the consumers and lowered the cost of businesses as well. But the price of oil is rising again on the world market. What effect is that having on NEVLEC's daily operation, the increase in the price of oil and so forth?
Well, we know how volatile fuel is. And we still have to maintain our infrastructure. We still have to pay staff. We have to maintain our equipment and our vehicles and purchase more. So obviously, if fuel is on the increase, if we can't meet that cost, let's say through surcharge, then we have to meet the cost elsewhere, right? So the tariff has been impacted. I haven't seen the numbers. I know it's going to come on, but you know, we have to do something.
I have the numbers. If you
have the numbers, okay. Well, I'll go through the numbers then. But we have to. You know, if we're going to maintain the quality of service, we can't be penny pinching. We can't be buying off the market stuff, right? Because we don't know if it's not to our specifications. We don't know how to perform. And sometimes you buy something for 10 cents, which would have cost you $1, but you might end up buying 20 of those in the same time period that the good one has lasted. So we want to try to maintain a healthy stock, but good quality stock, right? And this goes back to what I was speaking about with regards to the supply chain. A lot of people don't understand, but the cost of materials has skyrocketed. All right. I can give you an example. We used to buy a transformer for $1,500. That same transformer is $5,000.
Wow.
Poles has jumped up in price.
Well, I have the numbers here.
Okay, he'll get to you. Because of the supply chain since COVID, right, it's taking much longer to arrive here. Where we could have ordered a transformer from ordering to arriving in Nevis might have been a month. If I tell you, you're gonna laugh. It's a year, 1 year.
Wow.
We just recently got in touch with a company and they brought it down to 9 months.
Around, yes, about.
Yeah. So we buy transformers and we want to ask the drivers to be very careful.
Please, please.
Take your time on the road, please, because
a public service announcement.
They're listening, you know. Talk to them.
Please.
Yeah, because I mean, when you hit a pole,
yes.
The one that are cutting ground, I think that costs us for transformers alone nearly $30,000 US.
Wow.
And we didn't bring in those transformers for that. You understand? So it has an impact on our inventory. You know, we can't bring in a lot like we used to. So be safe. please protect yourself, but swerve away from poles, swerve away from wherever it is. You know, just drive carefully. Okay, and you give us the figures now, Al.
Okay. Oh, for the increase. Okay. So the government would have withdraw the fuel surcharge. Would have withdraw the fuel surcharge for about 2 years.
2 to 3. I think it was 2021.
Yeah. Well, 2 to 3 years. You know, kudos to the government for doing that. They would have withdrawn the fuel surcharge, but what we saw on the transmission side and on the generation side, and Ian would have mentioned it earlier on, with these 110 ACs, the load went skyrocketed. So, you know, the government reduced the fuel surcharge, the bills came down, probably cut in half. So now everyone started putting in air conditions. Now the government went back and they have adjusted the tariff. And the new tariffs, let me go to the old tariff first. The old tariff for the first 50 units, you would have paid 51 cents. For the next 75 units, you would have paid 49 cents. And anything above 125 units, you would have paid 47 cents. Now, the new tariff for the first 50 units, 65 cents. For the next 75 units, it's 70 cents. Anything above 125 units is 75 cents. So take note that in the current tariff, or the old tariff, you would have started high and reduced. So you started at 51 and you reduced down to 47. The new tariff started at 65 and it's now moved to 75 on the high end. So I think this will force our customers to conserve energy. I think we need to preach that more, to conserve energy. If I may, I just want to preach some energy saving tips for those folks who are thinking about purchasing an AC. Look into, you know, an inverter type AC, AC with a high SEER, you know, high energy saving, one that is UL listed. You might be paying more upfront, but over the long run it will save you. So don't just get up and go and buy a cheap AC. If you do have an AC, try to keep the door closed, keep the heat out. If you're going to the fridge, make sure you close the fridge. You know, turn off the lights, buy LED bulbs. You know, so just practice good energy saving tips. If you leave in the house, plug out your cable box.
Sound good.
So
plug out your microwave.
Phantom loads.
Yeah,
Phantom loads. Just to reiterate what Ali is speaking of. Okay, I'll pass it on to Bobby, but in the last 9 months, we peaked prior to this heat wave, going back to last year. We peaked at about 9.8 megawatts. It jumped to 9.9 1 month, and then jumped from 9.9 to 10.4. Unprecedented. We've never seen, you know, half a megawatt increase in our loads at any point in our history. And from that time to now, we've probably remained over 10 megawatts. I would say probably seven times out of 10, we've remained over 10 megawatts. We peaked again last year at 10.78. We peaked again this month at 10.78 or 10.75. We have now peaked again 10.98.
10.98. Yeah.
So we're on the brink of 11 megawatts. This is unprecedented for Nevis. So
And
this heat
all
wave,
this would have been caused by
well, we were saying the people are using more ACs and so
ACs.
forth. Yeah.
also the
This-
heat is driving up the use
yeah,
of the electrical.
This peak was a midday peak. We have two peaks in Nevis. We have a daytime peak because of the business in town.
Yes.
And then we have a nighttime peak. This was actually a daytime peak. So people might have been leaving their offices and ACs
going full speed.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So for Culturama, we're going to be over 11 megawatts.
I'm coming to that.
So hold on, King.
Yes,
that's only the tariff.
Yes.
Ian was speaking, and I just want to go to just to give the public an idea how the cost would have gone up. So before, a 35-foot pole would have cost $2,582. That's now at $3,000. A 40-foot would have cost $3,482. It's now at $4,000, $4,202. A 15 kVA transformer was once $4,000. It's now $17,000.
Is it easy?
Right?
Easy.
Yeah, easy. 25 kVA would have cost $12,000. It's now $21,000.
Everything has gone.
Everything.
Haywire.
Everything
Not up, you got haywire.
Haywire.
You have the 50 kVA.
I don't have it. But even the Alliance, we used to pay like the conductor. The conductor was like $2 per foot. It's now up to $8. So couple that with the increased cost of fuel.
Let me ask you this.
have an aging setup. You have an aging fleet of gen sets. You have staff to pay. Staff quarreling. You want new equipment.
Do you have an awareness program where all this information is being fed to the general public, because they need to know? All they're seeing is, or they're crying out that all the tariff gone up, electricity gone up, and they don't have. They need to know why the electricity has gone up, because you gave a great explanation as to why. I mean, the evidence is clear why the need is there to increase.
Yes.
You have no alternative but to up the prices.
Even with the generation costs,
Yes.
Especially of spare parts, because that same overhaul that I spoke to for the unit that came in 2017,
Yes.
it was overhauled in 2021. And it's now due for another overhaul. But the cost of that overhaul in 21 was about 1.2 million.
See.
And now we are looking at about 1.7 million for the overhaul of that unit in September. So the cost is very astronomical now, and
It
we
is.
can't run away from it.
I'm happy that the general public is hearing it from the experts, the one who are actually working in the system, because like I said, the information is important to get out there to the general public, because they're very quick to blame Tom, Dick, or Harry for the expense. But once they have the information like you're dishing out tonight, I think they'll have a different understanding of it.
If I could say maybe just one more thing on this, is that our neighbors outside of the Federation, the NEVLECs, the APUAs, the NEVLEC, the NEVLEC, BLPs, none would have removed the fuel surcharge. NEVLEC did it for about 2 months during COVID. He was quickly back shortly after. NEVLEC did the same thing for about a month, and he was quickly back. So, we had to revert to.
That's where the education needed, because you see, the Premier has mentioned on many occasions that they take a beating as a result of removing that fuel surcharge. And once you remove that, to put it back on is always a problematic thing to do. But it's a necessary thing to do, but you know how the world works, to put it back on. People, even though the increase is coming on the tariff, you're still hearing that cry out that, they put back on the fuel surcharge, and nothing goes so really. But as far as they're concerned, the electricity bill is going back up. That's why I think the awareness program is very important to inform the general public as to what is happening. Ian, you mentioned Culturama, and I couldn't let you go without asking you about Culturama. It is expected that we are going to have thousands of people coming to Nevis for this particular period. I was going to ask you, what effect do you see that having on our electrical system?
Well, we are preparing for high power consumption, and that is why Bobby is talking about having our generators repaired and up to maximum potential. If we have all our engines properly working, we can reach about 21 megawatts.
Okay.
More importantly, that would mean that we can actually take out number 11 for the major overhaul, and it's not impacting our ability to provide the power to meet the demand. So we are working diligently to have all our engines up and running to full potential. Hopefully by July we'll have all those engines in place. There may be one or two that might go beyond that, but I think with those in place we'll be able to do our major overhauls on the larger set without having to have any load shedding issues or that side of things. So I think Bobby will have more to say on that.
Well, we are expecting an increase in the demand, but I think that I'm not sure if we're going to reach like another 500 kilowatts on that, because I think what we'll be looking at is more of maybe like a reliability, ensure that the power is reliable. Yeah, because a lot of those days would be, well, maybe on the weekends it might be like the weekend and the holidays and all of that. So the demand in town would, that would fall off. But generally, I don't think we're gonna, have another extra 500 kilowatts unless the weather continue.
The weather can continue.
Yeah, with that hot spell.
But you're satisfied that you have enough to cover. It's not a problem electrical wise. Now I wanted to go back to the pole, because I don't know if it was Al who mentioned that once you damage that pole, or maybe Ian in Cotton County, costs over $30,000.
The transformers alone.
The transformers alone.
Yeah, to replace those transformers, I think they were like 9,000. I'm talking USA, not EC.
Ooh.
I think they're like 9,000 US or above that, more than that, to replace a 75 kVA transformer. But well, I like the figures then, so he probably will tell you how much it actually cost us. And it's not just replacing the material; it is loss of revenue.
Yes.
So people don't understand. So when that pole gets hit, it impacts our revenue.
Yes.
Yeah. So
are there any consequences involved here of a person tearing up a pole?
Yeah. We normally write them. I think in the last few, insurance is paid. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So we are getting our money back somehow.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That is what.
Not
it was.
all, but we do
at
get,
least you
yeah.
get some. In terms of damaged goods too, some persons have complained over the years that current goes on and come back and interfere with the appliances. Have you had a lot of that coming to you, and how do you deal with situations like that?
Okay, so what I would suggest, our customers visit the NEVLEC site. The damage claim policy is on the NEVLEC site. Generally speaking, for
Website.
adverse weather conditions, or what we call switching schedules. So switching schedules might be, opening a switch, closing a switch, and so forth. They'll say power was off, but it might be a switching schedule. Normally for those events, NEVLEC is not responsible. What we have been preaching for a long time is that persons need to put in proper protection equipment. I buy my equipment, I plug in my fridge and so forth, and not this strip that they call surge. You can buy proper surges, and so we encourage customers to buy proper surge protectors to protect their sensitive equipment. Fridge, modern fridge now got in a lot of electronics and so forth, and TV sets and so forth, because our system is exposed to everything. It's up in the air, right? We've seen monkeys climb on the pole and get electrocuted, right? We've seen it. Yeah, we've seen birds drop down dead. They've shot out the circuit, and so sometimes for us it's like a transient. We don't know what happened, but it took out the feeder, whatever was out there. Sometimes we'll see a dead bird or a dead animal, whatever it is. But so customers, they should be taking every precaution to protect their equipment.
Okay. I see the need for a real awareness program from NEVLEC, because you got some good information and some, suggestions, ideas for our general public how to deal with things like these. But I'm afraid that maybe not enough awareness program is out there for them to. Even if you do it, some of them not listening, so you got to find ways to. Okay, I want to look at the final thing before we close off the program. I want to take a look at your customer service side of things, your disconnection process in particular, which is always problematic. Outline for our listeners and viewers who gets disconnected and at what point do they get disconnected, so that consumers could have a better understanding as to why they were being disconnected and when they would be disconnected. And Ali, you seem to be man,
It falls under his purview.
Yeah, okay. Come with the figures out.
I don't know how problematic disconnection could be. First of all,
that's problematic because you really don't want to cut off anybody.
So we're still NEVLEC. We're still rather collect and disconnect.
Yes.
We are still in the business of selling electricity. I'm sure on your way here, you got here by car, correct?
Yes.
Exactly. And the last time you went and filled up by the gas station, did you have to pay to put gas in your car?
Of course.
Okay. So, therefore, you only get disconnected for non-payment.
True.
But before this will happen, the process is you will first get your bill. And if you don't pay, then you will get a second bill. And when the second bill comes out, the second bill will have a notification on it saying you have a past due. So that will be 2 months.
Yes.
We'll then send out the third bill. The third bill will also have the past due date. Our customer service agents will also reach out to you to ask you to come in and pay. The disconnection notice will be on the Facebook page. It will be broadcasted here from the powerhouse. So there are a number of ways and means we'll try to reach out to that customer before having to disconnect that customer. Then the list will also be generated after 60 days. So anytime after 60 days, when the third bill is coming out, that's when the disconnection code will be coming out to disconnect.
So they have more than enough notice.
More than enough time. So if I may, I will ask our customers to budget and prioritize. Budget and prioritize.
Make sure you pay NEVLEC in your prioritization.
Yes.
Okay. Now, is there any penalty for repeated offenders? For example, someone who constantly calls NEVLEC to come and cut the account and come back to reconnect it? Is there any?
There's only a reconnection fee. Okay. So you will have to clear the past due balance, and you'll also have to pay the reconnection fee, which is only $100.
Okay.
In the typical in the digital world, if we were supposed to get AMI, advanced metering infrastructure, some companies, the repeat offenders, what you'll probably do is to put them on a prepaid plan rather than putting them on a postpaid. So you put them on a prepaid plan to help them to
manage the situation better.
Correct.
Okay. Now, how do you, in case of a person who is off island, they've been off island for 3-4 months, and so that bill is not paid, but they're off island. How do you deal with something like that?
Well, first of all, we have a number of ways and means to pay. We have an online payment system. You could also pay through the bank. So there's enough ways that you could pay. You could even pay up front because you may have a soft disconnect, or you may even have a hard disconnect. So if you have a soft disconnect where you're still connected, you're disconnected, but you may have to pay the standing charge. If you know you're going to be off island for 3 months, then you could pay the standing charge up front, knowing that you're going to go off island.
And put your house in order.
Exactly.
Okay, great. But gentlemen, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much. Go ahead, Ian.
One more thing. Now, we have seen a sharp increase in faults customer faults, we term as customer internal faults. So there are persons who are hiring an electrician to do the work. They don't call NEVLEC to do any inspection and so forth. Something happens and we find out that the problem is internal. So what we're asking customers to do, because I've seen a sharp increase. I monitor these numbers. When a person does a job in your house, electrician, please come to NEVLEC and ask for an inspection.
That's an inspection.
Right? It may cause it might prevent unnecessary heartache.
True.
Right? Or even damage to your equipment. Right? I want to believe sometimes they will get blamed for those as well, eh?
Of course they do.
They say it's electrical.
I'm sure they do.
So.
Yeah. Well, folks, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us this evening. I know the three of you are three busy guys and, been working all the entire, just like me. Yeah. But I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us this evening. Your final words for our listening and viewing audience. Any one of you?
Okay, I want to first thank you for having us here. I want to thank my staff, the transmission and distribution staff for working tirelessly, the construction crew, the maintenance crew, the dispatchers, the emergency crew, consumer services, and by extension the whole management and staff of NEVLEC for the wonderful job that we have been doing. We have been keeping the power on. Like Ian said, he used to get, if the power goes off for an hour, he's getting calls. The power only used to stay on for 3 days and it goes off. The power has been very consistent over the last couple of months, especially from the transmission side. I want to say kudos to my team. They've been doing an excellent job. Ian mentioned the internal faults. And when we get the report, a few months ago we was at maybe 50-something files per month. Now we are down to 30s, low 30s. And some of these files are actually internal files. So, I want to say again, kudos to the entire crew, the entire staff of NEVLEC.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. And I look forward to seeing you back here sometime within the next 6 months. Don't stay away too long, Ian. You've been away for quite a long time. Folks, we have come to the end of another edition of our Government at Work program. Join us again next week when we shall do it all over again. Do enjoy the rest of the evening's programming. Then have a pleasant night's rest. Good night.